Fear is a state of mind. It is an invisible enemy that slips into our thoughts, binds our actions, and paralyzes our potential, but it is not real. It is a ghost, a fabrication of the imagination, born not from truth, but from the acceptance of limitations. Fear exists only because we consent to it, and anything created by the mind can be destroyed by the mind. To destroy fear forever, one must first recognize that it has no power except that which we assign to it. The man who allows fear to guide his steps will never reach the mountaintop of success. He will stumble at the base, questioning his worth, doubting his strength, and hesitating at the first sign of difficulty. Fear is the destroyer of ambition. It whispers lies, telling us we are not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. But the truth is this: greatness has never been born from ease. It has always come from the individual who faced his fear, stared it down, and acted in spite of it. You must understand the nature of fear. It thrives on indecision. It gains power when we hesitate. Every time you delay a decision, every time you procrastinate, every time you say, "I'll wait for the right time," you feed fear. You nourish it, you strengthen it, and eventually it takes root in your mind until it becomes your master. But the cure, the weapon that cuts through the fog of fear, is decisive action. Not just any action, but firm, bold, persistent action driven by a definite purpose. The man who knows where he is going and why is immune to fear. When your mind is consumed with a burning desire, so strong, so alive, so unstoppable, there is no room for fear to dwell. Fear cannot coexist with purpose. Light and darkness cannot occupy the same space, and neither can faith and fear. You must choose which will dominate your thoughts, for whatever dominates your thoughts will shape your destiny. The majority of people surrender to fear because they have allowed their minds to become idle. An idle mind becomes a breeding ground for worry, doubt, and negative suggestion. If you do not occupy your mind with thoughts of strength, courage, vision, and belief, fear will occupy it for you. That is why you must take control of your thinking, consciously, deliberately, consistently. Feed your mind only what you want to grow. Refuse to entertain any idea that weakens your spirit. Fear also takes hold when we allow ourselves to be influenced by the opinions of others. Most people never live their dreams because they are too busy worrying about what others think. But no man ever achieved greatness by living for the approval of others. You were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out. The voice within you must be louder than the noise around you. You must develop the inner strength to trust yourself, even when others doubt you. Especially when others doubt you. Another root of fear is the habit of looking too far ahead. The man who worries about what may happen a year from now, 10 years from now, a lifetime from now, is trying to live tomorrow before he has lived today. Fear lives in the future. It builds castles in the air and fills them with monsters. The antidote is to focus your energy on the present moment. Deal with today, master today, win today, and tomorrow will take care of itself. There is no secret formula for destroying fear, but there is a definite process. It begins with desire, a strong, burning, unshakable desire that leaves no room for doubt. Then it is strengthened with belief, belief in yourself, belief in your mission, belief in the power of the mind to overcome all things. Next comes action. Definite, relentless, courageous action, and finally persistence, the ability to keep going even when the world says stop. You must build within yourself a mental fortress, brick by brick, with the thoughts you think, the choices you make, and the habits you form. Speak only of strength. Think only of victory. Surround yourself with voices that lift you higher. Reject all forms of limitation. Train your mind until courage becomes your natural state and faith becomes your permanent companion. And always remember, fear is not the enemy, it is the test. It is the gatekeeper to every great achievement. It stands in your way to see if you truly want what you say you want. So when you feel fear, do not run from it. Move toward it, push through it, because on the other side is the life you are meant to live. When you begin to move in the direction of your greatest vision, fear will almost certainly rise to meet you. That is its nature. It appears when you are on the edge of change. It is not a sign that something is wrong, but rather a signal that something is awakening. Every time you feel fear, it is proof that you are stepping outside the prison of the familiar. Most men retreat at this threshold. They return to comfort, to safety, to the known, but the few, the bold, the determined, they lean into that edge, they press forward, not because they are fearless, but because they have learned how to master fear through movement. Action is the medicine. When fear grips the body, the way to neutralize it is to do the very thing you fear. Each time you act in defiance of fear, its grip weakens. You teach your mind a new lesson, that fear is a liar and you are its master. Repetition of courage builds mental muscle. With each courageous act, no matter how small, you forge a new identity. You become the kind of person who acts despite fear, who walks into storms, who advances while others retreat. That identity becomes your shield. You begin to walk through life with a calm assurance that no matter what comes, you will meet it head on. Most people misunderstand fear because they have never taken the time to study its patterns. They think fear comes from the outside world, events, circumstances, people, but fear does not live out there. It lives within. It is created in the workshop of your thoughts, and it can only survive if you feed it with attention. When you dwell on what might go wrong, you build a case for inaction. You build a wall between you and your goals. That is why the quality of your thinking is everything. You must become ruthless in your mental discipline. If a thought enters your mind that undermines your faith, discard it like poison. You would not drink something that would kill your body. Why would you entertain something that destroys your spirit? You must also understand that the world will test your resolve. It will confront you with delays, with criticism, with setbacks, with ridicule. These are not signs to turn back. They are the necessary steps in your training. They are the proving grounds of belief. If you cannot hold fast to your purpose in the face of opposition, then you never believed in it to begin with. Every man who has ever achieved anything worth while has had to walk through that fire. He has had to stand alone, misunderstood, doubted, sometimes even ridiculed, but he kept going because the vision burned hotter than the fear. A man cannot build an extraordinary life by seeking to avoid discomfort. Discomfort is the forge where character is tempered. To destroy fear, you must voluntarily walk into challenge, embrace adversity, seek out growth. Growth is uncomfortable by design. It requires you to stretch, to endure, to change. But every time you expand your capacity, fear loses ground. You are no longer the same man. You are stronger, wiser, more resilient. Another powerful strategy is to speak with intention. Words are not just sounds. They are commands to the subconscious. If you continually speak of problems, of doubt, of limitation, your subconscious will believe that is the world you desire. But if you speak with conviction, if you declare your goals with certainty, if you speak faith into your own life, then your subconscious begins to build a new reality. Your words are blueprints, and your mind is the builder. Choose carefully what you say, because you are listening. You are programming your future with every sentence. You must also take responsibility for your environment. Your surroundings influence your thinking more than you may realize. If you are constantly surrounded by voices of fear, negativity, and complacency, you will begin to absorb those beliefs. But if you place yourself among those who strive, who dare, who dream, who persist, then your standards will rise to meet theirs. Do not underestimate the power of association. Find those who remind you of your strength, not your weakness. Choose your influences with the same care you would choose the foundation of a house. Everything you build rests upon them. The habit of daily self-reflection is another weapon in the battle against fear. Set aside time each day to sit in silence and examine your thoughts. Ask yourself, where have I allowed fear to dictate my choices? What truth have I avoided because of comfort? What bold action can I take today that would move me closer to my vision? These questions are powerful because they awaken awareness, and awareness is the beginning of change. Finally, understand this truth: fear is not destroyed in a single moment. It is dismantled day by day, choice by choice, thought by thought. It is a lifelong practice of choosing courage over comfort, faith over doubt, vision over limitation. Each time you rise when it would be easier to stay down, each time you speak truth when silence would be safer, each time you move forward when every instinct screams to hold back, you win. Not just over fear, but over the very forces that keep men average. The battle is not out there, it is within, and once you win that battle, once you master your mind, there is nothing, no goal, no dream, no vision, that can be kept from you. The man who conquers fear is the man who conquers himself, and the conquest of self is not a matter of chance, but of deliberate, disciplined intention. No one stumbles into strength. No one drifts into mastery. These are the rewards earned only by those who wake up each day with the decision to rule their thoughts, direct their emotions, and command their actions. To destroy fear forever, you must adopt the mindset of the warrior, not the one who looks for battles, but the one who is ready when the battle comes. The warrior prepares in silence, sharpens his mind in solitude, and moves with certainty, not because he is without fear, but because he has trained his response to fear. When you understand that fear is a learned response, you begin to see that it can be unlearned. The mind is pliable, it bends to repetition. If you continually give in to fear, the mind adopts that pattern as truth. It becomes your default. But if you practice courage, speak boldly, and act decisively, you forge a new path. It is not done in a day, it is not done in a week. But with consistency, the old fearful self dies, and a new, fearless self is born in its place. That transformation does not require permission from anyone. It does not require applause. It only requires a decision, and the will to follow through. There is a force within every man that is greater than any fear he faces. It is the force of purpose. When a man is truly aligned with his purpose, when he knows what he stands for and what he refuses to compromise, he becomes unstoppable. Purpose anchors the mind. It gives clarity to thought, energy to action, and courage to the heart. Without purpose, fear dominates, it confuses, it distracts. It whispers 100 reasons to turn back. But when your purpose is clear, fear becomes irrelevant. You don't need to feel brave. You just need to stay loyal to your mission. You must also develop the capacity to endure. Fear often disguises itself as fatigue, as doubt, as boredom. It waits in the long hours when nothing seems to be happening, when results come slow, when effort is high but progress is invisible. These moments are critical because most men quit here. They mistake temporary discomfort for permanent failure. But those who endure, the ones who keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep holding the vision, these are the ones who cross the finish line. Fear has no power over a man who simply refuses to stop. It is also essential to guard your imagination. The same tool that can create a vision so powerful it pulls you through every obstacle is the same tool fear will try to use against you. The imagination, if left undirected, can become a breeding ground for every worst-case scenario. If you allow it, it will show you failure, loss, rejection, and ruin until you become paralyzed, but you are the master of that tool. You can command it to serve your success, visualize your victory, feel it, see it, live in the image of what is possible, not what is fearful. If you must imagine something, imagine the best, not the worst. And as you walk this journey, do not look to eliminate every challenge. Look to grow bigger than every challenge. Fear shrinks in the presence of growth. It diminishes when you rise. Every obstacle you overcome becomes a new layer of armor. Every doubt you defeat becomes a new weapon of belief. You are not meant to be protected from struggle. You are meant to be refined by it. It is in the fire of difficulty that your true self is forged. Not the weak, doubting, hesitant self, but the bold, courageous, decisive one. That version of you already exists. Fear is the curtain you must tear down to meet him. And while you may walk alone at times, remember this: all great men have walked that path. The ones whose names echo through history, the ones who changed the course of their families, their communities, their nations, these men did not escape fear. They rose above it. They felt the weight of it, but they did not bend. They stood firm because they knew that their mission was greater than their momentary emotions. You must adopt the same resolve. You must be more loyal to your dream than to your feelings. Feelings change. Emotions shift, but purpose through purpose remains unshaken. Discipline is also a weapon in your arsenal. Fear thrives in chaos, in laziness, in confusion, but discipline brings order, it brings certainty, it creates rhythm. When you do the work each day, even when you don't feel like it, you tell fear it has no seat at your table. You build momentum, and once momentum is in motion, fear has no way to stop you. You become a force not because of one great act, but because of 1,000 small victories that compound over time. The disciplined man fears nothing because he knows he has already beaten the greatest enemy, himself. And above all, never forget that fear is a habit. It is a conditioned pattern of response, and like any habit, it can be replaced. You do not need to wait for confidence to act. Act, and confidence will follow. You do not need to feel ready. Start, and readiness will grow. Your mind responds to what you do. So do the thing, make the call, take the risk, speak the truth, step into the unknown. The fear will be loud at first, but it will fade with each courageous move. Until one day you will look back and realize that the thing which once held you captive now holds no power at all. And when that day comes, you will know, fear is not eternal. It only lasts as long as you allow it. It only survives in the shadows of inaction. But once you step into the light, once you take ownership of your thoughts, your actions, your destiny, fear has no place left to hide. Every man must come to a point where he decides, once and for all, what kind of life he is going to live. Will it be a life dictated by fear, comfort, and compromise, or will it be a life led by purpose, fire, and fearless pursuit? That choice is made not once, but every day, in the silence of the morning, in the challenges of the afternoon, and in the doubts that visit by night. The man who chooses courage over fear repeatedly becomes unshakable, not because life grows easier, but because he grows greater. You must begin to see fear as a compass, not a curse. It points to the very areas in your life that require growth. That conversation you keep avoiding, that decision you've delayed, that dream you've dismissed as too big, those are not signs of weakness. They are invitations to rise. The presence of fear is not a signal to stop, but a signal to step forward. Every time you say yes to the thing you fear, you take back territory that was never meant to belong to doubt. You reclaim your power, your voice, your vision. In the end, you will not be remembered for the fears you felt. You will be remembered for the battles you fought and the victories you claimed. No one writes stories about the man who avoided all risk, who stayed safe, who lived quiet and unnoticed. The legacy you leave will be shaped by how many times you looked fear in the eye and moved anyway, not because it was easy, but because it was right, because it was time, and because deep down you finally understood. Fear was never your master. It was only your mirror, showing you how powerful you truly are. In conclusion, fear is not something to be defeated or vanquished in a single moment. It is something to be mastered and transcended. Every step you take toward overcoming fear strengthens your resolve and shapes the person you become. The secret is not to wait for fear to disappear, but to act in spite of it. Your destiny is shaped by the decisions you make, and the greatest of those decisions are made in the face of fear. When you move forward with purpose, when you stand firm in your beliefs, and when you take action despite the doubts that try to hold you back, you unlock a power within yourself that no obstacle can overcome. Fear is merely a challenge, a test of your commitment to greatness. Embrace it, move through it, and use it to fuel your ascent. The life you are meant to live is waiting on the other side of fear. Step into it boldly, and it will be yours.